All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be talking about the Sacramento Kings. Things do not look great over there in Sacramento right now. They're under 500. They're not having a great season, and especially in the Western Conference. There's a lot to talk about with the future, not for the rest of this season, but also the future, the next couple of years of the Sacramento Kings and what things could look like. We're going to talk all about that here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Read that a lot. Link to my Twitters, all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we're talking the Sacramento Kings. They're currently right now 13-14, a game under 500, sitting at 12th in the Western Conference. Not too far back from the play-in. Obviously, they win a couple games, one or two games here and there, and all of a sudden they're in the play-in. But just this season has not looked great for Sacramento. Of course, we're talking about 2 years ago where they shocked the league. They were the third seed in the Western Conference. Everything looked amazing. A new era of Sacramento Kings basketball. Everybody was excited. And then last year was kind of a down year. Last year, they missed the playoffs. Things did not look as great as they did the year before. And now this year was supposed to be kind of like all right, we got to get back to, doing what we did 2 years ago. Because the way the Western Conference is, you got to hit, you got to strike. Got to strike right away. And the Kings didn't do that. They made the big move this offseason, got DeMar DeRozan. When I said, before last year, you can watch my Kings look-in video, I said they needed a big move. Didn't know if it was going to be DeMar, but it was DeMar DeRozan. And honestly, coming into this season, maybe you can go back and watch some of my predictions. I kind of was high on the Sacramento Kings. I liked the Sacramento Kings. I didn't think they were going to be a contender or win a championship, nothing like that. But I just thought they were going to be a good team, a sneaky team that maybe could sneak up and win a lot more games than people expected to and be a competitive team like that. And so far, it kind of hasn't really been that, you know, 13-14. Last night, the Nuggets game was crazy, really back and forth. That was a tough loss for them after being down early, fighting all the way back just to lose, especially on a look where DeMar DeRozan had an easy look and he fumbled the ball. That was really tough. But now looking at the Sacramento Kings, this entire year hasn't really been inspiring at all. It's been the opposite. It's been just like, dang, what are we gonna do? And now looking at this Kings team, it's like, what happens with this team? Well, let's talk about this year to start. Let's talk about this year to start before we get into the future stuff. But so this season, 13-14. Looking at some of the numbers, it's funny because if you look at the numbers and look purely statistical at this team, you would think this is a pretty decent team. You wouldn't think it's a championship contender, but you would think oh shoot, they're probably a 6 seed in the West. Like statistically, number 6 offense, a top 10 offense, great. Number 14 defense, especially for a team like this, with the Kings are known for their defense. 14, so a really good offense and an average defense, that usually equates to being a pretty good team, especially in the regular season. 11th in net rating. Some of their numbers: 7th in points per game, 8th in field goal percentage, 6th in turnovers per game. So they're not turning the ball over. Like, it looks good. The only thing you can say about their offense is the 3-point shooting. Right now, they're 22nd in 3-pointers made, 24th in 3-point attempts, 21st in 3-point percentage. So they don't get up a lot of threes, which with this team, when you have a team like DeMar, De'Aaron, Sabonis, those three aren't 3-point shooters like that. They take them, but they're not relying on, I'm going to hit 8 or 9 threes in a game, you know? So that makes sense. But offensively, look good. And even defensively, some of their numbers, 9th in points off turnovers, 1st in opponent fast break points, 3rd in opponent points in the paint, 5th in opponent rebounds. So it's like, dang, the one problem with their defense is similar to their offense, the 3-point shooting, where they give up too many threes. Right now, they're 28th in opponent 3-pointers made, 27th in opponent 3-point attempts, and 29th in opponent 3-point percentage. So teams are not only are they giving up threes, but teams are also lighting them up from 3 this year. So the problem on offense is they don't get up enough threes, and defensively they give up too many threes. When you say it like that, that shows why they're not winning games as much as they should be, because they're not getting up threes and they're giving up too many threes. And one thing that why I thought the Kings were going to be good in the regular season and win a lot more games is the clutch. Darren Fox is a former Clutch Player of the Year winner, the first inaugural Clutch Player of the Year winner. DeMar DeRozan, we know in the fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan has shown many times before that he can win you a game in the fourth quarter. Malik Monk, even as a guy that can get buckets, like, you would think this is going to be an amazing fourth quarter team. I thought they're going to win a lot of games because when it gets down to the last 4 minutes, they're going to have 2 of the better clutch players in the league they're going to score. This year, it hasn't been that. This year in the clutch, they're 6-10 in clutch games, which is 37.5% win percentage, which is 25th in the league. They're a bottom 5 team when it comes to clutch wins. You know, these next numbers are all only specifically in the clutch. Specifically in clutch time, these are their numbers. They have the number 6 clutch offense, the 21st clutch defense, 13th in net rating. So their offense is still good, but the defense, and I said it multiple times when I talk about the Kings in videos, they just can't. If you're a bad defense, at least if you could just get a stop when you need to get a stop, that's all you need. The Kings have not been able to do that. The Kings have lost a lot of games because they just haven't been able to get a stop, and they need to get a stop, and the numbers show it. 21st clutch defense. Second in points per game in the clutch. So in the clutch, they are scoring. But here are the defensive numbers in the clutch. 27th in opponent field goals made. 26th in opponent field goal attempts. So teams are just getting up shots. 30th in opponent three-pointers made. 28th in opponent three-point attempts. 24th in opponent three-point percentage. So teams are lighting them up from three in the clutch. You cannot be giving up threes in the clutch. And they're the worst team at it. 24th in opponent free throws made, 24th in opponent free throw attempts. So not only are they giving up shots, they're giving up threes, they also are giving up a lot of free throws in the clutch. 25th in opponent rebounds per game. 25th in opponent rebounds. So teams are getting rebounds. 27th in opponent assists. 28th in opponent points per game. Teams are scoring over 11 points per game against from the clutch, which is also the same amount of points they're kind of scoring. I think they're scoring about 11 points per game in the clutch. So they're giving up the same amount that they're getting. You know, so clutch defense has just been horrible for this Kings team. Clutch defense, they just can't do it. They cannot get the stops they need to, and that's how we get to a 13-14 record and sitting below the play-in the Western Conference. You know, looking at some of their players, De'Aaron Fox having a magnificent season, which is really tough. He's giving you 26, 5, and 6. He had a 60-point game not too long ago. He has been amazing. He has been absolutely amazing. He is amazing. DeMar DeRozan is not having a bad season at all. None of this, you know. Obviously, a lot of people are going to point maybe at DeMar a little bit because DeMar is the big name and they're worse. But DeMar, 22, 4, and 4, 49% shooting. He's doing DeMar things. He's had some nice games. He's doing DeMar things. Domantas Sabonis, 21, 13, and 6, 62% from the field. He's doing his thing. You know, Malik Monk is still doing it. Malik Monk has to start now. Malik Monk is a starter now on this team. Why? Because the depth. A couple years ago, when they had their big season, a lot of it, their depth was really good. You know, everybody, they had one of the best benches in the league. Coming off the bench, everybody was doing their thing. You know, you got shooters out there. It wasn't just De'Aaron Domantas, but everyone else was impacting the game. Now, it's not like that anymore. Now, they don't really have a bench, honestly, at all. You know? Trey Lyles has done nothing this season. Malik Monk, again, has to start now because they have so much, you know, they have nothing on the bench, so they kind of need Malik Monk to start because they don't have anything else to really put around DeMar, De'Aaron, Domantas, Trey Lyles. Yeah, not doing well. Alex Len is averaging 1 point per game. Jordan McLaughlin, who they signed for agency, is averaging 2 points per game, shooting 36% from the field. They had to sign Jay Crowder. In the 6 games he's played, he's not shooting the ball well. Doug McDermott has been starting the last couple games, and he's shooting 42% from 3, but it's also Doug McDermott. You know, like how much all you need to do, all you're relying on him to do is just hit 2 or 3 threes in a game. You know, they have to, like, Isaac Jones is a real rotational player on this team. Isaac Jones, I don't think anybody out there who's watching this video maybe knows who Isaac Jones even is. But Isaac Jones is a regular rotational player for this team because they just need something. Keon Ellis is really the only thing outside of the top 4 of De'Aaron, DeMar, Domantas, Malik that really impacts the game. He's shooting 40% from 3, and he's a really good defender. He's really the only guy that impacts the game, you know, after that. Kevin Huerter had an amazing first year in Sacramento. It's over now. I mean, he's shooting 31% from 3. He lost his starting job. It's just he cannot find his shot. The last 2 years he just has not been able to find his shot, you know. And then the most disappointing one, Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray, a phenomenal rookie season. You know, last year started off slow, but he got it together eventually. And now it's just like, man, he's stuck. He's averaging 12 points per game, went from 12, 4, and 1 in his rookie year, 15 last year. Now he's back to averaging 12 points per game. I mean, rebounds, he's averaging 7 rebounds per game, I guess, and a career high in assists. But then the shooting, his shooting has been getting worse as his career's gone on. Rookie year, he shot 41% from 3. I think he broke the rookie record for most threes made in a season that year until I think Brandon Miller broke it last year. 35% last season. Now he's shooting under 30% this year. To drop in 3 years, he went from a 41% shooter to a 29% shooter. That's crazy. Even the field goal percentage dropped from 45% to 43%. The shots are falling in attempts. He went from averaging under 10 his rookie year, 12, over 12 and a half last year. Now he's averaging 11 shots. Threes went from 6 to over 6.5. Now it's down to 5.5. He doesn't get to the free throw line. He's only averaging one free throw attempt per game. The shooting has been bad, and that's one of the things that they kind of need Keegan Murray to do. Like the idea of Keegan Murray being a 6'8" forward that can guard other team's best player and hit threes, like that's a dream right there. And so far, I mean, he's doing it on the defensive end. We know what he does on the defensive end. Defensively, he's good. He's fine, and he's still a very high IQ basketball player, which is why you can't like bench him or take him out of the rotation because he is still a really good basketball player. But the shot is just not falling for Keegan, and if the shot's not falling, it's going to be really tough for this Kings team that already, again, lacks 3-point shooting in their top three guys. You know, I mean, Demonis actually has been a shoot. Demonis Sabonis is actually has to be a 3-point shooter now. Demonis is taking almost 2.5 threes per game, and he's making them at 43%. But Sabonis has to be kind of a 3-point shooter now. De'Aaron's taking 6 a game. He's only shooting 32%, but he kind of has to take so many because it's like, man, who else is going to take it? We know DeMar's not taking it, you know? And then, Malik's going to take the shots. But after that, it's like, the guys that we need to space the floor for us and rely on them, we can't. They're not doing their job. Kevin Herter, Keegan Murray, Trey Lyles, like those guys are not. We can't rely on them right now to hit their shots, and just add all that combination of they have no depth, the defense is bad, especially in the clutch defense is bad. They don't get up a lot of 3-point shots in a 3-point shooting league. They give up a lot of 3-pointers in a 3-point shooting league. Everything, it's a bad combination. And currently you're sitting under a game under 500 in the Western Conference. The Western Conference. And now looking at not even just this year, where they might make a play-in spot, be a 10 seed. I can't guarantee them make the playoffs at all. Honestly, I can't really guarantee even if they do make the playoffs, just to get beat by the Thunder, or get beat by the Thunder or the Grizzlies. Like they're not gonna go anywhere, even if they do make it. And now you look at the future of this team, and it's like, man, what happens next after this season? If they continue to be like this, they're about a 500 team, maybe a 42-40 team. Make the play-in, losing the play-in, or getting the 8 seed and losing the first round in 4 or 5 to the Thunder. It's like, what do we do now? This is a team 2 years ago that was a 50-plus. I think they won 50 games, if I'm not mistaken, right? Did they? Or they won 48. Sorry, 48 games. This is a third seed that was young and up and coming, and now we're looking at a team that might miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. In just 2 years or 3 years, we've regressed a lot. Not even just regressed in terms of 48 to 46. So we've regressed from top 3 seed to can't make the playoffs. That's a big regression in 2 or 3 years, especially to a team that is young, a team that hasn't had any success. Like if it's just a team that was in the playoffs for 8 years in a row, and then this regression happens, it's like, okay, age is hitting them. It's not. That year, their third seed was their first year making the playoffs in literally 14. That was the first time in my lifetime I watched the Kings be in the playoffs. I mean, well, they did make it in my lifetime. I was like a little baby. That's my first time since actually watching basketball that the Kings were in the playoffs, that the Kings were actually a good, competent team. And now, 2 years later, it's like, man, what happened? So now, if you're in the GM, in the front office, you're like, what do we do? What do we do now? In a Western Conference that's getting better and better. The Thunder look like they're going to be, favorites to win the Western Conference. Luka Doncic is not going anywhere anytime soon. As long as Luka's on the Mavericks, they're going to be a competent team. Nikola Jokic, as long as he's on the Nuggets, they're going to be a contender. The Minnesota Timberwolves still have Anthony Edwards. The Houston Rockets are here now. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to be around for a little while. The Spurs, you got to watch the behind your back because the Spurs are coming. Victor Wembanyama is here. So it's like, what, how, I just don't know where the Kings go from here in terms of how can they make it back to being consistent playoff team in the West. I just don't see it right now. I really don't. And so now if you're in the front office, you have to take a look around and be like, man, where do we go in terms of direction? Do we just keep this team, run it back, fire Mike Brown, unfortunately, even though he was such like the heart of this team a couple years ago, and he is kind of the heart of this team? Do we fire Mike Brown? Hopefully, a new coach comes in and unlocks something new. Do we just go into free agency and just retool a little bit, get another bench piece or something, and make something happen there? And even if you do that, how far is that taking you? Maybe you get a little bit better. Maybe you get to a 7 seed, six. Maybe you get to a 7 seed, 8 seed. But how much does that really raise your team? I don't really know in this Western Conference. So now you look at the other side. It's like, man, do we? Unfortunately, it's tough. It's hard to say it because this team has literally been rebuilding for like 15 years. Do we tear it all down again? Do we do it again? I think it's kind of unlikely for right now, at least. Maybe if they have a similar year next year, then we think about it. But it's got something you got to kind of think about. Do we tear it down again? You know, because I mean, it's tough to say that for this Kings team that has finally found some kind of thing to latch onto. You know, De'Aaron Fox, Demonis Sabonis, Malik Monk. You know, being a actual competent team that you actually think can win 40 games. That's big for the Sacramento Kings. That's something they haven't been able to say since the early 2000s. That they were able to just consistently know coming into a season, coming into a game, we can win this game because we have this, this, and this. We can win. We can have this type of season because of this, this, and this. You know, for the entirety of the late 2000s, entirety of the 2010s, and the early 2020s, they weren't able to say that at all. So it's really hard to have that conversation, but it's something they have to think about because where do you see this team going in the next couple years if they keep this around? You know, add in the fact also that De'Aaron Fox is going to be a free agent after the season. Now, most likely, it's only he declined the extension because he's going to hit like he's is in line for a insane extension this offseason. But even then, do you pay De'Aaron that? I mean, you probably do because De'Aaron Fox has been so loyal to Sacramento. He's one of the better players in Kings history. He's been around from the beginning when he was 19 and they were god awful to lead to now being the leader of a team that, you know, the team that made the playoffs again. Like, obviously, he's dedicated so much to this Kings team and you love him for that. And I'm sure every Sacramento King fan loves De'Aaron Fox. But, like, if you give him that extension, what does that do for you? Except for having a really good De'Aaron Fox player, you know. If you are going to retool, you're probably going to have to make a decision in terms of do we get rid of Demonis Sabonis? You know, do we maybe dangle Keegan Murray in a package? Even then, Keegan Murray's value is probably at the lowest of his career right now. So even if you do trade Keegan Murray, what are you getting back for him that's really going to be substantial to change your team? I don't know. Demonis Sabonis might have to be the odd man out in terms of you might have to flip Demonis for something, which you could get something solid back, but I just don't think you're getting anything back that that is on the level of Demonis Sabonis and what he's done to this team. Do you trade DeMar? Maybe, but like who is taking DeMar DeRozan right now at 35, 30, about to be 36 years old, who is still very good, still an all-star. But again, DeMar is one of those guys that you just kind of you can't just put on any team and all of a sudden it's like, all right, go ahead, go to work, you know. Even though he's having a really solid year with the Kings in his first season, so it's really really hard for the Sacramento Kings, man. They're in trouble. They are in trouble. Like they're I just don't see a pathway to make this team any better besides tearing it all down and hitting the restart, hitting the red button again. You know, which again is really really hard to say about this team, but that might have to be the case, honestly, unless you're just okay with being average and being a 39 to 43 win team for the next 3 or 4 years. And that if that's the case, okay, go for it, go for it. You know, we'll see how happy that fan base is with that. You know, we'll see. But yeah, the Kings, it's really tough to watch this Kings team kind of fall next couple years. But yeah, we just gotta wait and see what happens and see I don't know see how things go for the future. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it a whole lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.